It is now time for another episode of the WOA Senior AA Men's Hockey League podcast. Brought to you by Starting Lineup Uniform and Apparel. Owned and operated by Mitch Scott. Go to startinglineupuniforms.com or visit their Facebook page for more information. By Inline Family Chiropractic, located at 920 Yonge Street South in Walkerton, Ontario. Call now to book an appointment, 509-881-3443, or visit them online at ilfc.ca. By Revolution Hockey Series podcast, presented by WOAA player, most recently of the Clinton Radars, Brad Burton. Make sure to visit the podcast Facebook page and check out the latest episode. Hello once again, everybody. Andrew Rogers here, the host of the WOAA Senior AA Men's Hockey League podcast. It's great to be back with you guys once again. It's been a little while. Yeah, I know. A lot of facial hair and my hair is all crazy, but I do apologize for the rusty look, but I'm here in the flesh and great to be back with you guys. Unfortunately, today's episode is a little bit somber because we do have some we're talking, of course, about the big news with the league, and that is the league's decision to shut down for the season 2020-2021 due to COVID-19 and the restrictions that came along with that. Just at the end of the day, there was just no viable way of making this league happen this year with all the restrictions in place and all the hurdles that had to be taken into account. So, you know what I mean? It is what it is. We hope to, obviously, we as a league hope to resume things when the 2021 and 2022 season come about next October. So hopefully by then, we'll be in a good place in the world and in Canada that we can return to play and get this league back to the league we love, because when it was suspended at the end of, during the playoffs, this past March, it was just devastating for everybody involved. And, the league is definitely hurting due to this news about this season being suspended. So, you know what, it's a tough pill to swallow, but it's one that we need to make sure we come out stronger on the other side. So for today's podcast, we have a couple of guests lined up. It's going to be a great episode. First off, we have WOA past president David Black. We speak with Jordan McKinnon of the Saugeen Shores Winterhawks. We're going to speak to Gord Lamont, the president of the Saugeen Shores Winterhawks. We're going to speak to Kevin Barley of the C4 Centenaires. And we're going to speak with the trainer for the Minto 81s, Bradley Craven. All that and more coming up on this episode of the podcast. So stick around. We'll be back with our first guest. And then a little bit later on at the tail end of the show, we have a little bit of a tidbit I'm going to present to you. I was able to take my podcast team to the Shallow Lake Crushers golf tournament that was held at Stone Tree Golf and Fitness Club in Owen Sound. It was a blast. We had an absolute blast. Myself, Mitch Scott, Rich Wigmore, and Andrew Boyle. So I have some video footage from that I'll share with you guys as well at the end of the podcast. So like I say, we'll take a little, we'll be right back after this with our first guest, David Black, the WA past president, David Black. So we'll, look forward to that. We'll be back after this. Stick around. We are pleased to be joined at this time by past president of the WOAA, David Black. David, welcome to the podcast. This is a special episode because we are discussing the WOA's decision to shut down this upcoming season, 2020-2021, obviously due to COVID. David, thanks for joining us, first of all. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, and thanks for the invitation. I've had the opportunity to watch your presentation on YouTube a couple of times, and a couple of senior hockey committee members said you should check this out, so I went and checked it out, and it looks great. I think it's a great medium to use because everybody uses it nowadays, so especially the younger players and whatever. So
well I've been a huge advocate, David, of getting into this youth movement in our league. I think we've been very fortunate as a league that we've had a dedicated following for a very, very long time. And but nowadays we're in the social media world, and that is a big platform that we need to make more use of. And there was definitely some ideas. I'll be honest, with this upcoming season that I wanted to implement. Of course, COVID, had other ideas. But anyway, so you were at this. So you were covering for Alan Dixon at this GM's meeting on Thursday. Can you just give us an idea of what was discussed at the meeting?
Yeah, and I was filling in for the senior hockey chairperson, Al,
Yep.
this past Wednesday, and it was the senior hockey annual general meeting.
Okay.
So it had all the team reps there, along with the senior hockey committee members as well.
Mm-hmm.
And Linda Espenson, our executive administrator, was there as well. And it's a yearly process where the teams bring amendments forward to our bylaw, the senior hockey bylaw, and they get reviewed. And if they're successful, they'll pass and work into the senior hockey program for the relevant hockey season. So that's what the gist of the meeting was.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the COVID-19 pandemic that's happening right now, of course, it's really affected hockey across this nation and locally as well. And the minor hockey program is going through their steps to put their players back on the ice.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes down to it, we were looking at how are we going to run a successful program for this hockey season if there are restrictions in place because of COVID-19.
Right. And so I guess what were the main factors that were being discussed when it came to whether or not the season was indeed going to run or not?
The main thing is that can they financially be viable if they do not have a 5-on-5 regular hockey game with
Right.
fans in their stands and fans in their blue line clubs and fans participating in their 50-50 draws at the games.
Right.
So right now there's a number of stages. I think there's 4 stages in the Ontario Hockey Federation return to play program.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not affiliated with Hockey Canada or the Ontario Hockey Federation, but we do follow their rules and some of their protocols, and we were following that protocol. And to get up to stage 4, there were a number of steps in between, like 3-on-3, 4-on-4,
Mm-hmm.
come to the arena dressed. When the game is over, you have to vacate the structure. So there's a number of programs or a number of steps had to be followed if you wanted to participate in hockey prior to it being 5-on-5.
Right.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, the decision's made obviously to cancel the season, which I think a lot of us can agree that it is the right call to make because of safety measures, health concerns. Obviously, you don't want an incident to happen where one player is affected, then the whole league of players is affected, everybody in the stands is affected, so on and so forth. That's a domino effect. That's the world of the unknown right now. And unfortunately, we were getting better there for a while, in Ontario with cases, and then obviously now we've got this little bit of a surge back up, which has everybody concerned as well. When it came down to it, how hard do you feel like this decision was to be reached?
I don't think it was a very hard decision for the teams to make because they know what it takes to operate a team both on the ice and off the ice, and especially when it comes to finances. A lot of people might think this is an inexpensive league for an owner to run,
Right.
But it isn't. There's arena costs, there's rentals, there's a referee's costs, there's
Yep.
a lot of costs involved for a small-time owner, for an owner of a small team like this.
Right.
We don't have the assets. The assets that they have are the sponsorship funds that they receive from the local community businesses. And
Right.
I think they were also looking at, well, how can we go and ask for sponsorship from a local business and we can't get them in the stands?
Right.
And we can't provide a product for them to watch and to enjoy.
Yeah, of course. That's really hard because, you could promise any local business the stars and the moon and everything else, but if their product's not being seen, if that advertisement's not being seen, then it's really hard to have that transfer into revenue for that business. Not to mention, I can't imagine how difficult it'd be to have a conversation with a local business right now who is hurting in their own right, that they just don't have the money to say, yeah, we can support a senior AA men's hockey team.
Yeah, that's true. That would be a really tough sell for any of the 14 teams in our league this year. Going to somebody and asking them for, whatever amount that they were looking for, maybe $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, and
Right.
you can't provide the full product.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like I say, there's just so many factors that had to go into this decision. Um, now does it seem like there is general hope that next season, that like in a 2021, 2022, is there hope and optimism that by then we'll be able to get this season and to get this league back on track?
They certainly were positive at the when that motion carried and went through, that there would be no season. They were still very positive that even though there is no on ice product, that they could do a lot of work off the ice this year and really maybe strengthen the core of it for what each team does and what the league does as a whole.
Right.
That's probably one of the biggest messages I have. I know a lot of people think about the individual teams, but you have to think as the senior hockey league as a whole.
Right.
And the other point I like to put across is, can you find me another senior hockey league like this in Ontario?
Well,
Or can you find it
can't.
in Canada?
Like
That's
the
the
thing.
product that we put on, like the players put on the ice. I'm positive you can't find it.
No, I mean David would even be again. You mentioned that you've watched some of the podcasts and I've repeatedly kind of been behind this 100%. This is one of the best kept secrets in all of Ontario. This league, the product on the ice is undeniable. My goal with all of what I do is to just make sure that talent and the hard work and dedication that goes into making this league great is visible and that people appreciate it because of how good it is. The talent is only getting better. We got a lot, like it's evolved greatly in the past few years where it once was a very, an older person's game, but now it's a very young game where it's very skilled and very fast. And you got a lot of big guys still out there that can hit and they can make you earn it. And there's just, it's true. You can't find a better league around that's this competitive and will allow you to play from the time that you're like 18, 19, 20 years old till you're 40, 42, 43, if you can keep your conditioning up, because it's just so remarkable to watch brothers play brothers and fathers play alongside sons. It's really interesting, the storylines that you get out of this league. It's so fun.
Oh, it certainly is. In my past history with this league is that I used to be a non-ice official with it.
Okay.
All right, so I had a lot of fun doing it, and I got to know a lot of people from as far south as Petrolia up to Shallow Lake to Shelburne and all points in between. And I always enjoyed the league. When they played hockey, they played hockey, and every year it kept getting better and better. And when they made the appropriate rule changes, and it just opened the whole game up. And there's players that do things at full speed that I just can't believe. I used to enjoy watching them on the ice, right?
No doubt.
And had a lot of fun with those lads. But yeah, it's a great league. I can't say anything bad about it. Find me another one in Canada.
Do you have a good senior hockey story for us that you can share?
Oh, a good one. Oh, geez. There's a few of them. Yeah, I always loved going to Durham. A lot of the referees didn't like to go Durham.
Sure.
For one thing, I think they've got the best theme song.
Yeah.
Right. But they could play hockey any way you wanted to play them. Like if you want to play finesse, they play finesse. You want to play a little finesse and toughness, so play finesse and toughness.
Right.
If you want to play toughness, be prepared for it.
Yeah, that's right.
I can remember being in Durham, and there's an official that does the league right now, and he's a member of the senior hockey committee, and I'm sure he won't mind me mentioning his name's Rob Nixon. He used to be a goaltender.
Yep. I know
Right?
Rob.
And right. So back in the day, the guy said goaltenders could never get penalties. Right? They step outside of that blue paint, look out. Right?
Right.
Well, there was one evening I was in Durham, and it was a tough game to do, but there's Rob wandering around. And I said, Rob, you're going to end up with the penalty. Sure as heck, right? But you know what? You would probably save me a lot of grief if you stayed in that blue paint and not be wandering around trying to handle the puck because you can't handle the puck.
That's right.
Yeah. So that was pretty good. I always liked that little story, but had some great games to do. Had some arenas that were just full of people and that really enjoyed, especially the playoff hockey. And yeah, so it was great.
Good. Yeah, no, it is. It's a great league. It's so fun to watch. David, last question for you. Are you optimistic? Like, how are you feeling? And what's your opinion? Is this league going to be able to bounce back from this season cancellation?
I think they will. I think they've got the a good core of teams. Some teams that are maybe struggling right now. I think this will be a great break for them to really strengthen their management side of the their teams and their association, their group. I think it's a great opportunity. You know, I'm sure some people are taking a breath, trying to get a breath of fresh air right now.
Right.
Take a little bit of a rest, but my message was to the senior hockey committee and to the teams that were there is that you've got an opportunity here to really do some extra things that could really help this league out. And
Absolutely.
And I'll just tell you, if you can impress Linda Espenson, our executive administrator, you must be doing something right, Andrew.
It must be.
Right, because she has been in that office for, I don't know, over 40 years, and she's seen it all, and she's seen some of it 2 or 3 times, the same thing, right? But she said that you were at the senior hockey committee meeting maybe a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
Yeah, and your presentation just caught her eye, and she mentioned that to me. So I thought I'd pass it on to you. So there's opportunity for teams to do some things outside of the box more than what we're really more used to.
Right.
So I just hope that they take that opportunity this year to do it, and I'm looking forward to the next season. I think it'll be a good season because people will want to come back.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. I'm hoping that they just get that itch, and then when it finally comes time to scratch it, they're just ready to go. So, no, that's great. We've been speaking with past president of the WOA, David Black. David, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. It's been great talking to you. We'll talk to you again.
Okay, thank you very much, Andrew.
All right, we've been speaking with the past president of the WOAA, David Black. He was our guest, and we got plenty more to come here. We're going to speak with Jordan McKinnon of the Saugeen Shores Winterhawks. We're going to speak to the trainer of the Minto 81s, Bradley Craven. We're going to talk with Gord Lamont, and we're going to talk of the Saugeen Shores Winterhawks, and we're going to talk with Kevin Varley of the Seaforth Centenaires. On the other side of the break, though, I think we're going to speak with Jordan McKinnon. So we'll be back right after this for that. Stay tuned. All right, back here on the program. We're talking, of course, the big news, the WOA season shutdown 2020-2021 due to COVID-19. We are pleased to be joined at this time by Jordan McKinnon of the Saugeen Shores Winterhawks. Jordan, thanks for joining us.
Hey, anytime, Andrew.
Jordan, I guess first questions first is when you heard the news about the season shutdown, what was your initial reaction?
I wasn't surprised at all. Just given where we were and the way the cases were rising in Ontario, I think there was basically no chance that we were going to get to a point where we could have a viable season. It was, we needed a lot of things to go right this fall, and it hasn't really done that. And so, no, I wasn't surprised at all. And I think the writing had been on the wall for a little while. So this is where we are, and we have to kind of see where things go from here.
Now, so like you said, because you not being surprised is one thing, but does it still sting quite a bit, like to get this kind of news that, it's got to kill guys, like older guys in the league that have been here for a long time, that essentially, they may not have that ride in the sunset that they were hoping for.
Yeah, it sucks. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do all winter. For one, maybe get to know my wife. I don't know. We'll see. But no, there's a lot of guys who, those guys in their upper 30s and early 40s. I had heard that even, hey, that old horse Greg Tatey was going to play another year, and maybe he doesn't now. I don't know. I haven't talked to Greg since all this went down, but
Right.
he'll be another year older when if we get going in the fall here, next fall.
Right.
And there's a lot of guys in that boat. You look around the league, and there's those guys that were still good, still in their late 30s. But if a year off, what does that do? You remember back to some of those NHL lockouts and some of those guys that had a year off and just never got it going again. And it's going to put a lot of, I think a lot of guys are going to have to do a lot of soul searching and figure out where they are in their careers if they can still keep playing. It's going to be on us as executive to really beat the bushes and recruit hard, because I think there's going to be an awful lot of roster spaces out there to fill, and it'll be a very interesting summer next year if it looks like we're going to play.
So is that fair to say then that the players are the biggest ones hurt by all of this?
Oh, I think so, because they're the ones that put everything out there to go and play every weekend, and take time off work and time away from their families and drive 2 hours in a blizzard to go play a hockey game in Shelburne or play a hockey game in Tavistock or whatever. Yeah, so I mean, they're the biggest ones. I mean, we lose out because we don't get to watch these guys play hockey. I mean,
Right.
That stinks. But I think I think that's and look, kids too, because I know the guys in the league don't really realize it, but the way the kids, they look up to these players, and to see them on the ice and how much they love it when they're the practice before the game and they get to hang around and watch, the Winterhawks play or whoever play. And it's such a thrill for them, even if they get to come out on the ice and carry the flags or come out and do the intermission thing. So there's a domino effect there. And I think that, hey, you know what? Everybody's in it. And I think you look around, and these junior C, junior B teams that think they're playing December 1st, I think are in for a rude awakening, because I don't see how there's any chance they can play an empty arena or not. Like, right now, contact hockey's forbidden. You think that's going to change in the next 2 months? Probably not.
It doesn't look that way. I mean, like I've heard through the grapevine that like some of those junior C teams are the only way they'll play is if they have 30% capacity in the building.
Well, I think it's going to be zero.
Well, it probably
Myself,
will.
like,
Yeah.
Maybe one of mom and dad get let in the building. Maybe the girlfriend gets let in the building, but that's it.
Right.
And with all the protocols and everything else, I mean, it would just be, it's just, there's way too, with the way things are going right now, there's no chance anything else is opening up. There's, if anything, we're going to go backwards, right? So,
yeah.
I think we're looking at a pretty dark winter as far as local sports goes.
Now, so I asked David this question. I'll ask you the same thing. Like, even though this was the right decision to make, I think we can all agree on that, from a health protocol, from a health and safety of our players, the fans, and everybody involved. Will the league be able to bounce back from this?
I hope so. The biggest thing is keeping people engaged. So keeping your executive going, keeping your executive engaged, so that when we get the green light to go, there's actually organizational structure in place to pick up and go. The biggest thing is going to be getting sponsorship in place at the start of each season, so that we have cash flow to pay for training camp and to pay for, everything else that comes with posting your insurance premiums and your league fees and all that. So yeah, you're going to need that. Like, that's going to be the biggest test for everybody, I think, right off the bat, whenever it is that we get going, when we have a vaccine or whatever, that, we need organizational structure, organizations in place, people knowing what they're doing, and getting back to where we can get teams on the ice and playing hockey again.
If you had to take a shot in the dark, I guess, what would you say was the biggest hurdle that got us to this decision as to why, the teams felt like, okay, well, we can't make this work?
Well, I think ultimately right now is that we can't play. Like, we cannot play. Like, we would be breaking the law if we played, because you can't play contact hockey right now. So
Right.
that's one. You can't have, I don't even know what the capacity is for an indoor sporting event right now. Probably a
Probably
couple of
0.
dozen people, maybe.
I don't know.
Like
So,
it's, you know, and there's no sponsorship money because all these
right.
businesses have been hit so hard that they don't have money to cash, to write a check to a hockey team. So
Yeah.
there was no choice. There was no, it wasn't I know that at the AGM there was the discussion, but I mean, really, what were we going to do? There was
Yeah.
all these factors against us. There's, no chance. Even if by some miracle we would be allowed to play the game this winter, I think just about everybody would have went bankrupt doing it. So
It would have been really tough.
the choice was made for us by everything else happening around us.
Right. So I guess, yeah, like, I mean, is there, so if you had to look at, I guess, a way that this league can improve, I mean, David mentioned, he said something great. And when I talked to him about how this is a golden opportunity for the league to assess, for the league to figure out, if there's anything that needs to be looked at in terms of change. I mean, I think you and I share the opinion that this is a young man's game, and that the league has evolved to a point where, social media comes into it in a little bit of ways where, teams need to be up with the times on that. What things do you think that they need to do and take a look at to improve this game?
I think ultimately this is a chance to get things in order as far as the marketing and promotion side of things. I think that's the biggest problem our league has in attracting new fans and
Right.
getting attention, because I think when you are each team doing your own little thing, it doesn't cast a wide net. So
Right.
I think if there was a league-wide strategy to get, a bigger marketing plan out there and put some money behind it, then I think you could probably say we could get to a point where we're, we get talked about in that same tier of hockey as the junior Bs and the junior C leagues that get a lot of attention that we don't get, frankly.
Right.
You listen to the sports reports on terrestrial radio and all that, and it's blow by blow of what happened in the junior games, and then, oh, by the way, in senior
Oh,
hockey.
by the way, yeah.
So I think we got to get to that point. I think getting some of our media companies on board, whether they broadcast, maybe, because one of the reasons why, for instance, Blackburn Radio is so big on junior C hockey, well, they broadcast it.
That's right.
So if we
Cherry
look at
Bus
other
Lines games of the week.
exactly,
Yeah,
Cherry
right.
Bus Lines game of the week. So why do they put so much time and effort into promoting junior hockey? Because it's on their airwaves. And the same can be said, why are the Owen Sound Attack, item 1, 3, and 5 in the sports reports in Owen Sound? Well, because they're on Bayshore Broadcasting.
Right.
So we've got to look at that, because if you want these media companies to pay attention to you, they have to have something in it for them, right? So
100%.
that's I think where the next, and of course just having an overall something identifiable for the league, whether it's just in a marketing plan to be out there and to get our name and our logo and our our product out there. This is a time to do it, and this is a time to figure out where we go from here.
Well said, Jordan. Well said. Are you doing all right personally? You doing okay over there?
Yeah, we're doing good over here. My wife and family, we just moved into a new home in Port Elgin, so
Congratulations
we're in
on
the
that.
midst of. That's why I'm coming to you from my bedroom right now, because I haven't unpacked anything yet, and I'm just sort of coasting from room to room, setting up offices and
Well,
getting
we
my kids
appreciate her
settled.
allowing you the time to talk with me. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
We've been speaking with Jordan McKinnon from the Saugeen Shores Winterhawks. Jordan, thanks for joining us. We appreciate your time, pal. We'll talk again soon.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks a lot, Andrew.
All right, Jordan McKinnon, Saugeen Shores Winterhawks, joining us here on the program. It's a special podcast. We are discussing the season shutdown, WA Senior AA Men's Hockey League podcast. Of course, yeah, like I say, it's unfortunate that the season was shut down, but this is the reality we live in now, and we're just gonna have to really take a step back and assess where we're at, and make all the necessary changes and things that we need to do to improve our game, because that's going to be the most important, and it is a critical time. but we can't lose the faith that we'll be back, and we'll be back strong, stronger than ever. So we look forward to that. More guests coming up here on the podcast after this. We still have Gord Lamont, president of the Saugus Shores Winterhawks. We have Kevin Varley of the C4 Centenaires. And coming up next year, we'll have Bradley Craven, the trainer of the Minto 81s. We'll be back after this. Stick around. We are back here on the program, special edition of the podcast, discussing the league shutting down the 2020-2021 season of WOA Senior AA hockey due to COVID-19 and the restrictions that really made it impossible to play. We're joined by Minto 81's trainer, Bradley Craven. Brad, thanks for joining us, pal. How you been?
Good, and you?
Yeah, no, I've been good as well. I guess first questions first. Talking to a couple other people here, the first question I really want to know is, I guess, when you heard the news that the season was going to be shut down, what was your initial reaction?
Well, it was like, I read it on the league Twitter feed, and I'm like, okay, well then that it makes sense with everything that's still going on with it, and cases going up with the school starting up and stuff like that. So it's, in a way, it's going to be a good thing to prevent anybody from the league contracting it and passing it around and close contact and stuff like that. So
is it fair to say that you weren't surprised by the news?
No, I wasn't. I've been in good contact with the Kitchener Rangers trainer, and they're still pretty much in limbo if they're going to be able to go or not. And he projected that we wouldn't be able to go because of our league drives off of having fans in the in the stands to be able to make some cash.
Yeah, no, I mean that's the biggest thing is that I keep hearing is this whole financial impact and how big of a player it is in keeping these teams alive. Is there my thought on this, and I don't know if you can echo this statement. I believe that the players are the one they're going to be hurt by this the most. Would you agree with that?
They will, for sure they will, because they're not. Some of them are coming right out of junior, and they're not knowing what they're going to do now for the winter.
Right.
And some of them were thinking the league was going to go, and they were keeping themselves in shape. So it's. Now they're in limbo what they're going to do and what they can do for recreation and stuff like that all winter too, now that our league's not going.
But I'm also worried about guys that, are getting a little bit up there in age, maybe that, we're looking at, possible last season or two and that last kick of the can and the last kind of ride into the sunset. I mean, yeah, guys had that happen to them when the season was initially canceled in the middle of playoffs, but there's always that itch to have one more year where they were just like, okay, I'm ready to go. One more year. It's going to be great. And it's going to be my swan song or whatever you want to call it. But now it's like, man, guys that can't really look at it and go, oh, well, I guess next year they'll be as good as I was this year. It just doesn't work like that, does it?
No, it doesn't. I mean, if you look back at the NHL lockout of 04-05, there was quite a few guys like that in that boat. All of a sudden, the league shut down due to that league with CBA talks.
Right.
They lost Messier and a lot of the really good guys that were wanting to play hockey again.
Sure.
And they just didn't have spots open for those gray beards. So it'll be probably something similar to what's happening in this league.
Right. From a trainer's perspective, actually, this is interesting. So this shutdown now has opened up a lot of time between when, from now until the season will potentially, hopefully, I think everybody agrees on that, will hopefully start next October. What is the biggest advice that you could give from a trainer's perspective as to how somebody should keep in shape and maintain, that drive and that hunger to bring in the next season when that finally does get underway?
Well, for starters, if you've been keeping kind of active all summer, keep doing that sort of deal, and then if you can watch some of the NHL hockey, or if you can go out and just even public skate at some of those at your local rink, that'd be one thing, just to keep the feet moving and some exercise going. But yeah, it's hard to say what'll happen, what you can suggest in something like this when there's only so much space. You can be around people with social distancing and wearing masks and stuff
Right.
like that still.
Do you feel and do you believe that the league will be able to survive this year absence?
I think so. It's been going for quite a few years, and it'll certainly come back different. There'll be some guys that'll just say, "Hey, you know what? I survived without it," and they won't. And so it'll be come back, and it might be a step back from where we were going into playing hockey this past year with the different rules. But it'll
Right.
be something similar.
Do you think there'll be some turnover in terms of like maybe roster and how they look?
There'll be some turnover. I'm not sure how big. It all depends on how teams and are able to keep players engaged by doing stuff like Zoom calls and stuff like that.
Right.
So
Yeah, like I mean, I don't know. I get this feeling like recruiting is going to be a big test amongst teams that like I say, that they may have a couple guys that are occupying spots that are a bit older in age that may just want to essentially hang them up, if you will. But and then maybe that might open a roster space or two for a young gun to come in. But I think it's going to be really interesting when the league does finally resume, what these teams do look like in comparison to when we last saw them.
oh, for sure. Like our team could look a little different. You and I, we were out with Corey Allen, and he's talking that he might not come back now. And
But
so
I mean,
he was also an older player. So
right. Well, I think that's just the reality of it, is that these guys, that they to have this time, to have that much time away is really hard to come back from, to get that motivation, to keep that drive. Obviously it's easier for the younger kids, but again, not so much for the OGs. So
yep.
like, Brad, when you look at this league and maybe, because like there's this talk that this shutdown could be a good thing in terms of being able to take a step back and saying, okay, let's reassess, let's have a look at what works and what doesn't, and let's try and make this league phenomenal for when it does come back. In your opinion, what kind of things would you suggest that might make this league a better a product on and off the ice?
Well, the one thing I would do is bring the 2-fight rule back.
Okay.
Because like everybody is it because the rinks are so small.
Right.
You bring that 2-fight rule back, and a guy catches a guy with a dirty hit or something. At least he has a chance, one, to atone for it by just grabbing a hold with the instigator, but then he has a second chance to then stand up for himself and say, "Let's go." Then you're out, but then keep the building of the suspension process going like they had with it.
Right.
But at least you have that second 2-fight. I that's one thing I would do. I would modify the fighting rule. That way guys can atone for everything, and it would make it a lot more interesting, because then you could have guys like the guy that plays for Shallow Lake that basically fought in the O, but he hasn't really come into this league and wanted to do that. But that's basically what he is.
Right.
He's not really a skilled guy, and he can't really display skill, but that is a skill set that you need at other levels of hockey.
Right.
So
I guess, and then in terms of like, so what, I mean, you've been around this league for a long time. I mean, around Minto for a long time. Like, what's so exciting to you about this league, like that you really enjoy about being around it?
well, for me, it's basically still being in the room, because I don't play a whole lot of hockey anymore, and kind of focusing on my ball. But it's basically still being able to be in the room with a bunch of guys and having some laughs and stuff like that. And that sort of deal.
Right.
So other than that, it's just being out on a Friday or a Saturday night and being around a bunch of good guys.
Yeah. And I guess in terms of like how on a personal note, are things going well with you? Like, are you doing all right?
Yep. I working and stuff like that, and gonna, now that the season's over, I can just keep doing what I did all summer, studying and trying to get better at coaching ball and stuff like that. That's a really big dream of mine. So
Fair enough. And are you going to tip your hand at whether or not this is the last we've seen for Bradley Craven in the Minto 81s, or are you going to take some time?
I'm going to take some time. I mean, I know probably by Christmas time I'll know for sure what's going to happen. That way, I want to give the true heads up to the organization so they can really look and for
Sure.
a quality person to come in and look after everything.
Right on.
And I just, at this point, if I do hang it up, it's the fact that I'm just tired of being the one going to the rink every day. It seems like for multiple hours to get from a 7-day-a-week job when it should only really take, if you have 2 committed guys, a couple of hours each guy, go in, sharpen skates, get the shirts ready, and you have everything turned over, ready to go for Friday night.
Right.
But it seemed like I was spending every night of the week at the rink.
Sure.
So I was just getting kind of tired, and I was getting long in the tooth with it.
No doubt. Well, you got with no senior hockey this year, you got some time to breathe and relax. So, but
Yep.
you know what? If and when the league does resume, I hope you do consider long and hard about coming back, because like I say, you've said it before too. Trainer is an unsung hero in this league, and how well they're relied upon to make this make an organization work and to be okay. So we appreciate the work that you do, and definitely appreciate
Thank
the
you.
hard work. So we've been speaking with Bradley Craven, Minto 81's trainer. Thanks, Brad, for coming on and talking with us, and we'll talk to you again. Thanks a lot.
Yep, no problem.
All right, folks, that was Bradley Craven, trainer of the Minto 81s, joining us here on the podcast, talking, of course, about the season shutdown, the WA canceling the season 2020-2021, with hopes, obviously, of resuming the season in October of next year in 2021. We have a couple more guests coming up. Gord Lamont of the Saugeen Shores Winterhawks, he's the president, and we also have Kevin Varley of the Seaforth Centenaires. We'll be back right after this. Don't go anywhere. We're back here on the program, a special edition of the podcast discussing the shutdown of the WOA Senior AA Men's Hockey League season for 2020-2021. Pleased to be joined at this time by Kevin Varley of the Seaforth Centenaires. Kevin, thanks for joining us. It's great to see you.
Thanks very much, Andrew.
Pleasure. Yeah, no, hey, pleasure's all mine. Now, I just so first questions first. Your reaction to the announcement of the shutdown. I know that you had a part in the meeting on this past week. Do you want to just give us your take on that?
Yeah, it's an extremely tough place to be in. This pandemic has really done a number on society as a whole. And over the past 2 or 3 months, the general managers have been meeting on a Zoom meeting, talking about the season and how it would look and what issues may arise as a result. And more importantly, the health-related issues for the league as a whole, players, volunteers, coaching staff, executive, everybody that's associated with the game. And it certainly was not an easy decision to make, but we have to look out for the betterment of the league and the players, because one of the things that we're going to be faced with is that we don't want to be a part of spreading the virus.
Of course.
And when we're playing contact hockey, we're very close proximity of everybody. We've got a number of different players from different jurisdictions across Ontario. And as you know, the cases really vary from region to region.
Right.
And that is a very concern, I guess is about the best way of putting it, because none of the players can afford to have to quarantine for 2 weeks as a result of playing recreational hockey.
Right.
And it affects their family. They don't want to spread it to their family, and neither do we want it to spread. So we just took it upon ourselves to discuss all the issues that arise as a result of this. And one of the biggest issues is the health and being able to play
Right.
a full season. Being that we can't play a full season, and we're likely going to be playing with restrictions because every facility's got different protocols in place, and it affects all members of the teams as a result.
Right.
So, not an easy decision to make. A motion was put forward on the table on last Thursday evening about the season, as to whether or not we play it or we don't. And it was a decision made by the majority that we suspend or cancel the season. And
Now,
work towards
sorry, go ahead.
and work towards getting something put together for next year.
Now, of course, I can't even imagine the position to be in to make that kind of decision. But would it be fair to say that at the end of the day, there were just too many risks involved in deciding to play?
The risks are horrendous.
Right.
And that is the very nature as to why everybody decided to suspend or cancel the season, because we just can't take the chance of getting somebody sick. And we're not going to be having, with the inside body count right now, we can only have 25
Right.
in a quadrant of the arena.
Right.
So we can't have fans, and that is a revenue source for every team.
Right.
And we're limited to the number of players that we can have in a dressing room.
Right.
Let alone, we can't use the showers. We have to
Yeah,
come
no,
dressed
that's true.
and leave dressed. So that's just not going to work. No Blue Line Club.
Right.
Of course, we can't go to the sponsors. We can't have fans. Nobody can see the product on the ice.
Right.
And it's going to be a shortened season at best.
Right.
So,
So Kevin, in your estimation, like if you had to pinpoint like to answer this question, who is affected by this the most? Like who hurts the most from this decision?
well, I'd have to say that the entire league hurts. Each individual team has got a different level of hurt, I'm sure. But one of the other components, and C-Force in this position, is we got some veterans that have been with our organization for a long time.
Right.
And some of those guys were thinking about, oh, this is going to be my last year.
Right.
And the issue is, are they going to be able to come back after sitting out a year and play one more year when they certainly weren't counting on it?
No. Like that is the question, is like, I mean, yeah, guys' conditioning is much better than it used to be, no question, in terms of how somebody could condition their body to be able to take that time away and then be able to come back and have, a different level of muscle memory. But for the older guys, it's a lot tougher to bounce back from something like that.
That's exactly true. And the other component is try to keep the team together. We're
Right.
basically going to be an entire year that they're not going to be gelling together, playing a game they love.
Right.
And that is a huge concern.
No, so yeah, exactly. I think the players hurt the most because they didn't sign up for this. They don't deserve this. I mean, it was bad enough for the 6 teams and all their players that had the playoffs canceled midway through the series. Is like, I mean, Milverton and Tavistock couldn't even start their A final, and then you had the 4 other teams that were in the AA side that were primed and ready to go, and that were just going at such a high pace. Just to have it stop and end like that is devastating.
Mm-hmm.
And like I say, you got the older guys that want to take that last kick at the can, and it's like just ripped underneath the rug ripped right underneath them. So you feel for guys like that.
That's right. And this is the first time that the season's ever been canceled in the WA history.
first time ever. I thought it
First
was
time
like the
ever.
first time in 70 years or something.
The WOA has been around for 75 years.
Okay.
So, and the senior hockey has been around for quite a long time as well.
Right.
But this is the first time that the season's ever been canceled or suspended.
Yeah, well, COVID is just making everything a world of firsts, I think, at this point. One of the interesting issues that has been brought up to me is this question of, what is the league going to look like when it comes back? And if it does restart next October, which is the sort of the soft hope, I guess, at this point, the question of roster turnover is really interesting because of what teams are going to look like when we do finally get back on the ice. Do you think this will affect Seaforth specifically?
Well, that's a very interesting point. We're having a gathering with all the guys in the next week or so, hopefully, bearing in mind that the numbers don't get dropped again by the province. And it's going to have a lasting effect. I think we are going to lose some players that could be veterans and other players that could move on to different organizations or different
Right.
levels of hockey.
Yeah, like I say, it's just. I mean, I get it. Like on the one hand, yes, this is the right decision that needed to be made, no question about it. It sucks that it had to be made, no question about that either. One of the interesting, I had David Black on earlier here, and he was mentioning this interesting fact about, again, what things are going to look like when we finally do get back onto the ice. But it has to be a moment of reflection in that, it's important to use this time away from the game, to be able to assess carefully what to do to make this league better and to assess different things that could make the game better in our league greater. Like, what is your thoughts on that, to that effect?
Well, and that's one thing that we talked about at the AGM is the fact that we can't just sit back.
Right.
We've got a year on. There's a lot of things that have to be brought to the foreground by the executive, by the senior hockey committee, and all the teams, so that we can put maybe a better product on the ice and come up with different things to attract fan base to the league, and also attract players as well.
Right.
We need to get some younger players in our league. There's no question.
And now that's the thing, because this used to be a very old man's game. No offense, but it a very old school game. It was rough. It was tough. It was rock'em sock'em. It was the Saturday game. It was just, it had a different mentality than it does today. It's evolved quite a bit. It's now a very skilled game. It's a very fast game. It's a very razzle dazzle, pass, highlight reel goal. And that's the kind of the age that we live in now. But, in that sense, like you say, a very young man's game now. And you guys in Seaforth had a blessing come into your laps last year with Holden Lancic. And man, was he unbelievable. Speak to how impressed you were by watching him play last year, because I sure as hell was impressed.
Yeah, he's just a treat to watch. You put him on the ice with any players on his line, and they love to play with him. And Holden makes things happen. There's just no question. He's not a one-person line by any means. He's a team player, and that's the way he plays. And he expects that from his teammates as well. He's pretty vocal on the bench.
No, I've heard he's vocal, that's for sure. But no, when you come from a winning culture, I mean, you exude that winning confidence, and it really does translate to other guys on the team. And like you say, other guys on the line just has a tendency to make players better. He's a great ambassador for this game, though, because he is a young guy coming in. He's adapted so well, and I thought it was really cool that you guys had him line up alongside Mark, his dad, a couple times this year, which I thought was really interesting. I think that is so cool about this league, that you can literally have father and son on the same team, on the same ice surface at the same time to start a hockey game. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I was I can't remember the gentleman's name, but there was a father-son team that actually played in Thetford. I'm going to say 10 years ago, and it was a treat to watch them play. And I tell you, his dad was a defenseman, and he could throw one mean hip check, and he was not any bigger than I am.
That's
So,
funny.
yeah.
So I guess Kevin, one of the last things I want to ask you, in terms of like what this league needs to do to get better, what's your take on that? Like, what if if you had to throw out some suggestions on how this league could improve, what would you say to that?
Well, one of the things is we have to communicate with all the teams and with the league a little bit better. The next thing is really take advantage of the new ways of promoting the league. I'm just going to use something that I know you're involved in quite a bit, of social media.
Right.
That's a key. And ever, getting the games televised. That's going to be a chore, but I think there is a way to get that done, and
I think there is too.
we just have to work on that concept and see how it can work with each individual team.
I think so.
And we can work on those issues. The players will come to us, so then the game will get that much better.
Yep.
And we are going to be a league that is going to be around for another 75 years.
Well, we can only hope. I know probably you and I won't be, but we can only hope to continue to grow this league for generation to generation to generation. Kevin, the last question I want to ask you, I guess, is the league going to be able to bounce back from this year off? Do you think they'll be able to come back and be strong, and be in good shape?
I think we can. The issue that we have to do is we have to work collectively as a group and make sure that if there's any rough road that any particular team is going down, that if there's something that another team can do to assist them or help them, that we do that. Just don't throw them out to the dogs.
Absolutely.
And then we'll come back uniform and stronger than ever.
Yep. No, I agree with you. I'm excited to see what the future holds for this league. And Kevin, are things on a personal level? Are things okay with you? Are you doing all right?
Oh yeah. No, it's good. Just the last 3 months has been trying just
Sure.
to make sure we make the right decision.
Right.
It's something that unfortunately needed to be done sooner than later.
No doubt. All right. Well, that's great. We've been speaking with Kevin Varley of the Seaforth Centenaires. Kevin, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, and we'll definitely talk to you again. Thank you very much for doing this. We appreciate it.
Thanks very much, Andrew.
Okay, that was Seaforth Centenaires Kevin Varley. We've been speaking with him, and just absolutely great to have him on and to give some insight there. So we thank Kevin for coming on and joining us. We have one more guest lined up before we sign off on this episode of the podcast. We have Gord Lamont, the president of the Saugeen Shores Winterhawks. He comes up on the other side of the break. Stay tuned. We're going to take one more break, and then we'll be back. All right, stick around. And we're back here on this special episode of the WOA Senior AA Men's Hockey League podcast. We're, of course, discussing the WOA's decision to cancel the Senior Hockey League season 2020-2021 due to COVID-19. Like I say, so far, great guests on the show on this episode. We've spoken to Kevin Varley. We've spoken to Jordan McKinnon, Bradley Craven. And, of course, we spoke to David Black, and it was just fantastic. And now we're pleased to be joined by the president of the Saugeen Shores Winterhawks, Gord Lamont, great friend of the show. Gord, welcome back. Great to see you.
Great to be back. Thanks very much, Andrew.
So, of course, the first question I've been asking the rest of the guys today is just your initial reaction to this decision. I know, obviously, it was a hard decision to come to, but it was one I think at the end of the day, everyone can agree was in the best interest of everybody involved. Take us kind of through your reaction.
certainly disappointment and everything. It's I mean, obviously, I love hockey just as much as everybody else on the from all the different teams, and we certainly don't want to not play hockey. That we love the game and we love having all these games played. But when it comes down to it, it's the most important thing is safety, and not just the players' safety, but the fans' safety and everybody involved, including ourselves. But you just can't, the way it is right now, and it's we're going through our second wave, I guess, in Ontario. It's just it's not safe to do that. We've got players coming from all over, and fans coming from all over southwestern Ontario, or maybe even more. And you don't know what's going to happen and who's going to bring what, and certainly not intentionally, but unintentionally. And so that's the main reason in my mind that we can't do it. And it is unfortunate, but that's so you can do it with everything, not just hockey. So the other reason I think that we can't do it is financial, and there's just no way that any team could make it run. At least I don't think, unless some of the teams have enough money in the bank, which there's not very many that do, I don't think. But
Right.
Financially, it's just not viable if you haven't got fans coming in, and you can't go to sponsors because sponsors are struggling to get by these days. So it's so for those reasons, but mainly the safety thing, and the fact is we don't know when it's going to change.
Right.
We don't know when we're going to get to that next level, or to so that we can probably not until we get a vaccine, and even then we don't know. So it's just doesn't make sense to sit around and wait and hope that everything's going to change when we know it's not going to change. At least not fast enough.
Is it fair to say, Gord, that at the end of the day there are just too many risks involved to be like, well, we'll see what happens,
Absolutely, absolutely, that there's too many risks, and nobody, including me, wants to be the one to say, well, come on, let's go, we'll play because we'll be okay.
Yeah.
Because we don't know we'll be okay, and there's just I'm not saying we have to have 100% guarantee, because there is no 100% guarantee on anything.
Right.
But it's there's a difference between guarantees and foolhardiness. So it's just there's way too many risks right now in the near future to
well, and that's just it, is that you don't want to take a risk on the families and the people of this great league that work so hard and dedicate so much time and really fuel our league and to make it what it is. If you had to pinpoint, if you could, who is hurt the most by this? Is it the management of the teams? Is it the players? Is it the fans? Is it the communities? Or is it all just kind of a general hurt?
Well, I'd say it's a general hurt. I don't know if I could pinpoint one group that's hurting more than others. I know, some fans, this is going to be real detrimental to, because it's their Friday night or Saturday night hockey game is pretty important to them.
Right.
I could say to us, because I'm one of those, whether it's a fan or whatever. But also the players, it's gonna, without their hockey, this will be the first time in their lives. And although some of them are only 20, so that's not a long life, but it'll be the first time that they've never played organized hockey for a season. So
right.
it'll be quite a thing to adjust to.
Right.
So and it won't be much fun. So I don't know if I could say that it's more detrimental to anyone, or more. Right. It affects any one group more than others, but it certainly will affect a lot of groups in a lot of different ways.
Well, and this idea that has been brought up too about what the league is going to look like when it does finally resume. If the hope is to get it back on the ice next October, if that's going to be the case, what are the team who's going to be still alive and standing in terms of the teams that are going to be participating? And not only that, but the roster turnover. That'll be the really interesting question. Who stays and who goes, and how many spots are up for grabs for guys looking for somewhere to play? I think that's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, we've looked at it at both ends of the stick, like how many of our veteran players are not going to be back.
Right.
Because there's a turnover. I think most teams have somewhat of a turnover, whether it's 4, 5, 6, 7 players every year.
Right.
I think that's normal. I think that's healthy. But I think there's a turnover there. So now you're talking 2 years. So does that number jump up to as many as 10 to 14?
Right.
And then how many new ones are coming in, because there's all the players coming out of junior or whatever that or coming back from pro or whatever or from school, whatever the situation is. So
Right.
how many of those players are going to be around, and is that going to average out? And so, but I mean, who knows? Like we can guess and do whatever we want right now, but until a year from now, we won't know for sure.
Right. A really interesting point was also brought up about how this break, if you will, can be turned into a positive, and that is to take a step back, reevaluate where the league is currently, and I guess kind of assess if there is anything that we could change moving forward in our league to make it better in terms of a product on the ice, make it better in terms of presentation, make it better in terms of exposure to the general public so that they're aware of the greatness that this league holds. Is that going to be very important to this league when it comes time to get back onto its feet?
I think absolutely, and we've as a league we've talked about it, and as our team we've talked about doing different things in a positive vein to try and make sure that, number one, that the league and our team are still in the news. We're going to try and do things all year long to make sure that we're still out there for fans to hear about. And certainly in the league, I think there's a chance there for. There's been a couple things talked about, and certainly your name's been brought up about. I'll call it marketing, but a way to make the league more visible, as well as in our leadership area. There's talk about different things, possibly like a convener to come on board to help with the administration part of the league and different things like that. I think both those things would be very positive steps. However they would look. There's numerous ways to make it happen, and now we not that we planned it this way, but now we've got a year to kind of make those steps happen. And I'm not saying that we should procrastinate on it. I think we should get going on some of these ideas and other ideas. Like our team has got ideas on maybe doing some write-ups on, number one, our players, number two, our sponsors, all sorts of different things. Anything that we can think to write on and put it out there, or even videotape, then we want to do that so that people still hear about and see about the winter hockey. So, so I think it's important, both from if I put my league hat on and my team hat on, I think it's very important that we keep the league and our team and everybody's team in the public view throughout the whole year.
Right. Now, in terms of like, I mean, obviously, a big question is that with this layoff, and like obviously, it's tough for everybody involved, no question. I mean, there's the people on the management side that dedicate so much time. They're probably like thinking, what are we going to do now? I mean, like people that are so heavily invested in, like you say, going to the rink Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and not being able to have that outlet anymore, is they're going to be wondering, okay, what do I do now? It's obviously interesting for the players in terms of like guys were coming into this season even because, playoffs get suspended halfway through, like midway through. That was their last kick at the can. They were thinking, okay, I'll come back in October, having my ride into the sunset. I'll make my own destiny, whichever you want to call it. That is taken away from them. The rug's pulled out from underneath them on that. And now the question becomes, after the layoff, if it does resume next October, can the league rebound from that? That is the big question.
Well, I guess we'll never know until that actually happens. But do I believe it can? Absolutely. I believe it can come back, and maybe even come back stronger than it did before. So than it was before. So I certainly hope that it does. I think that it can. I'm a little bit too optimistic, but I don't see why it can't. As long as as long as people don't get used to not doing things and
Right.
or maybe find other things to get involved with. But I think that there's enough people that love the game and love our league and whatever, that they'll stick with us, and it'll go better. It'll be bigger and better.
Now, from a personal standpoint, do you have any sort of like ideas or opinions on what needs improvement? Is there things that maybe you've suggested that the league could probably take a look at and say, okay, maybe we should consider this?
Absolutely. I've been saying for a long time, and I'm just not very good at at what it is, but I think the marketing of the league, which is where one of the places where you come in and doing things like this and anything to make the league more visible, but and out there in the whole world of the computer, of the social media,
Right.
because that's where maybe not so much people my age, but certainly the fans that we need to attract.
Younger generation.
It's the younger generation is huge with social media, and it's all marketing. Like marketing, there was still marketing 40 years ago before there was social media, but it was done in a different way. So
Of course.
we need to do that marketing. We need to market the league because we have a fantastic product, but we need to find ways to do that. And social media is probably the best way in these days. So especially for two reasons. One is because it's 2020, and that's what happens in 2020 is social media, right. And also because of the pandemic, there's people are spending even more time on social media, I believe. So I think that the one, if we could improve the league in one way, it would be the way we market it, because we can market it and find more finances, and then more finances mean better product, whether it's nice shiny new uniforms for every team, or all sorts of different things that making it more convenient for players to play because they can get bus to a game instead of driving to a game. All these different things. So money drives everything, I think, and I think it's important that we don't get more money for one or two teams. We get money for everybody. So
of course,
I'm all about the level playing field, and I think the league has taken some steps. At our annual general meeting, there was some rules passed that I think are good for the level of the playing field, and I think that's one of the most important things that we need to remember.
Yeah, and I definitely think, like you say, the product is undeniably good, and a lot of younger kids are coming into this league now and just dominating and taking over. The Miles McLeans and the Holden Lansicks of the world. Like, it's just amazing what they're able to do, and it's just a pleasure to watch them play. Gord, in terms of the business, Gord's Imprints and Designs, how's things going with the business?
Things are going all right. We still don't have very much business from the sporting part of things, which we certainly have had in the past. But there's other things that are picking up because of in spite of that. So we're busy. I don't know whether it's just because we're slow, but we're busy. So the good news is that Gord skate sharpening business is picking up too. So that means there are, like, minor hockey is starting in Saugeen Shores as of tonight or tomorrow, or I think it's tomorrow, which is fantastic. I think that's I know it's I don't know about tragic, but it's really bad news that the Winterhawks are not playing and the senior league is not playing. Right. But the minor hockey is playing, and it's so important for those kids to get away from that computer and that social media for a little bit, if you can call it. I don't think they're on social media; they're on video games. So
just screen time, Gordon. Screen time.
Yeah. So get them out in the rink and get playing good, healthy sports like hockey. So
that's right.
I think that's very important.
Right on. Well, like I said, I'm glad that the business is doing well. Keep up the good work there, because you put out a tremendous product, and the work is second to none. So keep up the good work there. We appreciate you stopping by as always. We've been speaking with the president of the Saugeen Shores Winterhawks, Gord Lamont. He's here on the podcast today. So we appreciate you stopping by. You're welcome back anytime. You know that. And thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks very much, Andrew, and thanks for doing what you're doing. It's great stuff.
Okay, well, we just wrapped up speaking with Gord Lamont, the president of the Saugeen Shores Winterhawks. Again, special episode of the podcast discussing the cancellation of the WOA Senior AA Men's Hockey League season this upcoming season, 2020-2021. The plan is to resume next October. We'll see what happens then. That's going to be it for the podcast in terms of guests. I have a little bit of a video montage of the Shallow Lake Crushers golf tournament out at Stone Tree Golf and Country. That was wonderful, and that's coming up here shortly to end the episode. But I'll do my sign-off now. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much to Gord Lamont, Kevin Varley, Jordan McKinnon, Bradley Craven, and David Black, past president of the WOA. So we appreciate all of them stopping by, and we appreciate you, the fan, for watching and sticking around with us. I am Andrew Rogers, the host of the WOA Senior AA Men's Hockey League podcast, saying so long, and we will see you soon. The trivia challenge is going to start soon. I swear to God, it's going to be great. All right, we'll see you next time. Enjoy. Shallow Lake Crushers Golf Tournament montage coming up right now. It's the first annual Shallow Lake Crushers Golf Tournament from Stone Tree Golf and Fitness here in Owen Sound, Ontario, Canada. Hello once again, everybody. Andrew Rogers here, the host of the WOAA Senior AA Men's Hockey League podcast. It's great to be back with you guys once again. We are here in Owen Sound, Ontario today for the first annual Shallow Lake Crushers Golf Tournament from the Stone Tree Golf and Fitness Club. It's going to be a great day of golf here. The Shallow Lake Crushers putting on a wonderful event, and there will be some golf played here at Stone Tree today. There will be players who play particularly well, and there'll be others, such as myself, that play suspect, but that's okay. We're all here to have fun. We're all here for a great cause. The Shallow Lake Crushers are at least doing their part to try and raise some money here today for the cause of the organization and the league in general. So we'll see what happens, but it should be a great day of golf here. Myself and the podcast team look to represent that team well. Myself alongside Mitch Scott from starting lineup uniform and apparel. Rich Wigmore, former goaltender of the Tavistock Royals, and we also have Andrew Boyle, who played parts of seasons with both Shallow Lake, Shelburne Muskies, and the Durham Thundercats. So it should be a great day here at Stone Tree Golf and Fitness Club. Plenty more to come here on a special edition of the podcast from the Stone Tree Golf and Fitness Club. It's the Shallow Lake Crushers Golf Tournament. We're on the tee box here on number 18 with Rich Wigmore of Team Podcast. Rich, how are things going out on the links today, pal?
Things are pretty good. I think golfing with Boyle it makes the game a lot easier. We can tell which way the wind's going based on his hair. It looks like this 150 par 3 that it's a little left-right, but we'll have to see.
And how's your game today?
Well, personally, I think I'm carrying the team. My back's getting a little tired, but other than that, I think going through the back nine, I think the boys will pick it up a bit for sure.
Well, I think when you said the back, you meant the front, because since we started on the back today. But either way, what are you hoping for the rest of the way?
I really don't think it matters what hole we're on. We're just going to put it on the hole in regulation, or on the green in regulation, and go from there.
Perfect. Thanks, Rich.
Thank you.
Got Mitch Scott here in the cart with me from starting lineup, uniform and apparel, part of the podcast team. Mitch, how's things going with the starting lineup?
Well, you can hold the camera straight.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the team's going pretty good. I mean, 3 of us are carrying our weight. If Boyle could start participating a little bit in the good shots, it would be excellent. I got some excellent drives. Rich has had some good shots from, maybe 190 out. Boyle hasn't really had anything. You've had some great chips on and some good putts. So I think everyone's contributing except Boyle at this point. But other than that, yeah, we're doing pretty good.
Yeah,
I like it.
I think we're having a good day.
I think so too.
And so what's going on with starting lineup? Let's talk about that.
Oh, the business.
Yeah, the business.
Sorry, I thought you were talking about our team called Starting Lineup. Yeah, no, the business is going pretty good, actually. Everything being considered with COVID and everything, it could be a hell of a lot worse than it is right now. But it's kind of fun seeing where we're at right now and looking at the numbers. And we're actually past where we were last year. So having having a good time, enjoying it, and trying to do what I can with the business.
Good. You got any exciting projects coming up?
Other than the Shallow Lake Crushers, we got lots going on. We got big, it's called Team Portal that we're building for the ball hockey leagues, ball hockey teams in Ontario. So that's coming up. And then just a lot of online stuff is where we're really trying to transition right now.
Perfect. Thanks, Mitch.
Cool. Thanks, Andrew.
Well, Andrew Rogers back here with you, the host of the WOA Senior AA Men's Hockey League podcast. the podcast team of myself, Mitch Scott, Rich Wigmore, and Andrew Boyle, just finishing up the round 4 today. Respectable 4 under. It looks like we're going to be middle of the pack towards the bottom, but that's okay. We had a good day out there, and it really was a lot of fun. Great day for a round of golf, and really was a pleasure to be here, and pleasure to be part of the tournament and represent both the WOAA Senior AA Men's Hockey League and the Shaw Lake Crushers. So we had a great day, and it was a great day for golf.
It is now time for another episode of the WOA Senior AA Men's Hockey League podcast, brought to you by Starting Lineup Uniform and Apparel, owned and operated by Mitch Scott. Go to startinglineupuniforms.com or visit their Facebook page for more information. By Inline Family Chiropractic, located at 920 Yonge Street South in Walkerton, Ontario. Call now to book an appointment, 509-881-3443, or visit them online at ilfc.ca. By Revolution Hockey Series podcast, presented by WOAA player, most recently of the Clinton Radars, Brad Burton. Make sure to visit the podcast Facebook page and check out the latest episode.